Hiya, Andy Poulton, your Chief SEO Officer here, and I want to take a little while to talk to you about content. Content on your website is vital. Fresh content, new content. Why? It keeps us, the visitor, interested. It gives us a reason to come back. It works really well for your search engine optimization. Well optimized content is really going to give your SEO a boost. And finally, Google loves fresh content. Why does Google love fresh content? Because we do. And fresh content also tells Google very simply that your business is still alive. Imagine putting your website live 2 years ago and not putting any fresh content on there. How's Google going to know that you're still in business? How are your customers going to know that you're still trading? Fresh content, something new, something relevant, something of good quality, at least once a month as an average to aim for. Now, watch on and I'll give you some hints and tips on how to write fresh content, where to get content ideas from, and how to optimize it for good SEO. Andy Poulton, your Chief SEO Officer here, and I want to take a little while to talk to you about content. Content on your website is vital. Fresh content, new content. Why? It keeps us, the visitor, interested. It gives us a reason to come back. It works really well for your search engine optimization. Well optimized content is really going to give your SEO a boost. And finally, Google loves fresh content. Why does Google love fresh content? Because we do. And fresh content also tells Google very simply that your business is still alive. Imagine putting your website live 2 years ago and not putting any fresh content on there. How's Google going to know that you're still in business? How are your customers going to know that you're still trading? Fresh content, something new, something relevant, something of good quality, at least once a month as an average to aim for. Now, watch on and I'll give you some hints and tips on how to write fresh content, where to get content ideas from, and how to optimize it for good SEO.
You might have heard the phrase content is king. It's been around quite a while, particularly in the field of search engine optimization. But why is content king? Watch on and hopefully you'll find out why content is king and how you can create great content for your website visitors that also works for your SEO. After all, SEO is what we have to do to our website if we're going to stand any chance of being found in the search engine swamp, because there are thousands, tens of thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of competitor websites out there. So working on great content is one of the ways that you can push your site up there. I'm Andy Poulton. I'm your Chief SEO Officer, and I've been doing SEO since 2001 and I'm still learning. Without further ado, let's have a look at why content is important. First of all, it keeps Google happy. Why does it keep Google happy? It works on so many levels. First of all, if you launch a website, and let's say you launched your website 2 years ago, how does Google know that your business is still trading if you're not adding fresh content to your website? It doesn't. And if it doesn't know you're still trading, why on earth should it feature you in the top page of the search results? Because after all, only about half of us ever go on to page 2 of the search results. And page 3, well, that's 10%. So that's a really good place to bury bad news. Not only does it keep Google informed about the situation in your business, but it also demonstrates to Google your authenticity. Now, Google call this EAT, E-A-T, your expertise, your authoritativeness, and your trustworthiness. By writing great and relevant content, it helps convince Google that you're good at what you do. Now, fresh content also gives people a reason to return to your website. If I come and visit your website, why on earth would I want to come back? Well, fresh content is a good reason. Maybe you can have a sign-up form so that I can be notified whenever you've posted fresh, new, exciting content. And you might even use that content for email. But we'll come on to multiple use as we go through. Fresh content increases brand awareness because if people read stuff and they find it interesting, they'll share it. Did you read about the latest stuff from stuff? So it's great for brand awareness. And as I said, it demonstrates credibility with Google, your EAT, your expertise, your authoritativeness and trustworthiness. And you need to keep at it. And if people like your content and they find it interesting and relevant, they're going to keep coming back to your website. And there may very well be a chance that on one of their visits, they'll read something that addresses a particular need that they have, and that becomes the trigger for them to get in contact with you to talk about doing some business. And inbound marketing, outbound marketing, that's where all the effort is. That's all the cold calling, the emails, the contacting. Inbound marketing is where your customers find you by the work that you do. It's got to be great, hasn't it? If people find you and come to book appointments to buy stuff from you, content does this. And I've already mentioned, write it once, use it many times. So what could you do with it once you've written it? Obviously, you've shared it on your website. You've search engine optimized it, so hopefully it can be found in Google. But share it on your socials too. Share it 2 or 3 times a month. Perhaps share different paragraphs of it, different elements of it. Use it for your email marketing. Record it as a podcast, record it as a video, and put it out on YouTube. All of these are great ways of reusing content. So you create it the once, but you use it, maybe edited a little bit, many times. But you need to plan your content. What's the aim? What's the goal? What do you want it to achieve? Is it about lead generation? Not all content is about lead generation, but it could be. But if it is about lead generation, you need to make sure that it features calls to action. Buy now, find out more, contact us for a quote, all of that sort of stuff. So that when people are reading it, they know the actions that you want them to take. Is it about knowledge or skills transfer? That's an equally valid reason for writing content, because what that does, that demonstrates your credibility to your client. The idea being is that they may get to a certain level of competence, they may want to go further, but if it's your content that's got them to that level, they are going to contact you to get them to that next level, and that probably involves them doing business with you. General education. This is quite tough for some businesses, particularly businesses that are in a new sector, because they have to educate clients that their service exists before somebody is even interested. But general education can do that. The more you get the word about, the more that word of mouth can have a part here. It could be general information. It could be a case study. Case studies make for great content because it demonstrates to people how your product or your service is used in the real world. As I mentioned in the previous slide, what do you want the reader to do? Do you want them to make a purchase? Do you want them to make contact? Because if you do, please don't rely on them finding your contact details. Put them on the page. Put them on every single page you publish so people don't have to think about how they get in touch with you. Make it easy. Maybe you want them to subscribe to a newsletter. So click here to subscribe, or use little popover boxes that come up to encourage them to subscribe. Don't leave them to guess what it is you want them to do, because they won't do it. And if you want them to download something, maybe you've created a free software tool, or you've written an e-guide or an ebook. Again, make it obvious. Use download here links and buttons. Make it stand out. And when downloading, make it a transaction. Ask them for their email address and their name, so that then you can go back to them by email. You can address them directly. Hi Dave, hi Jane. I noticed you recently downloaded our e-guide on XYZ. Was it good for you? Would you like some more help? So it gives you that marketing impetus to be able to return to them and ask follow-up questions. And of course, you might have another purpose for writing an article. Whatever it is, have a goal for it, because that way you understand whether it's working or not. Once you've decided the goal, then you need to start thinking about some keywords for the article, because remember, we're doing content for SEO. So in this case, I thought about digital marketing for SMEs. So I took the keyword and put it into my favorite keyword checker. That's Ubersuggest by Neil Patel, and it's free to use. Yes, there's a subscription level, but it's free to use. And it comes back to you, with a range of alternative keywords that you might want to consider. It tells you how many searches per month there are carried out for your chosen key phrase, and whether it's trending in terms of popularity or not. But I wouldn't worry so much about trending. In the chart that you get from Ubersuggest, there's a couple of other columns, but they're not relevant. All we're looking for here is, are there searches per month, and what alternatives are there that might be better off for me? So I've decided that I'm going to stick with digital marketing for SMEs because it seemed to work pretty well. Now what you need to do is make sure that you include these keywords in your very first paragraph. So when the search engines come to your website, they see the keywords quite early on, and that gets them forming a picture about what the article is about. All the other search engine optimization requirements are in place. So you need to have your meta titles, your meta descriptions in place. You need to use your header tags and your images. So you need to do proper SEO on this, but we're talking about content writing here, not just general SEO. So digital marketing for SEOs. I also would look to include digital marketing for small businesses and digital marketing for small business, marketing for SMEs, social media marketing, small business strategies, digital marketing for SMBs, because they're all variations on a theme that we've checked out and people are searching for. And finally, a good question, because people like questions because it gives them an opportunity to find the answer. And Google likes questions because loads of people ask Google questions. And if you have an answer to a question, Google might feature it at the very top of their search results. Then you've got to write the content, and you need to use the 6 W's. This is journalistic writing, if you like, but it's the 6 W's: the what, the when, the who, the why, the where, the how, in any order, but you can use them to help give weight to your article. And then as you're writing, make sure you use AIDA, AIDA, to capture the reader's attention. So grab attention. Imagine I'm selling widgets. My attention grabber would be, I sell or I make the best widgets you can buy. Okay, really? Then you need to generate an interest. So my widgets last 5 times as long as everybody else's. Wow, that sounds good. Bit worried they might be expensive though. Build the desire. Although they last 5 times as long, they only cost twice as much. So now you've got a really, really solid return on investment. And finally, we're back to promoting the action. To order my widgets, buy now my widgets, inquire about, whatever it might be, whatever it is you want the visitor to do, the last A in AIDA is promote that action. Critical. Otherwise, people don't know what's expected of them when they visit your website. I'm not going to read through all this, but here's a quick couple of paragraphs that I wrote for digital marketing for small business for the purpose of looking at readability. So here's a couple of quick paragraphs I wrote on digital marketing for small businesses for the purpose of text formatting and readability. First of all, our article needs to have an H1 tag, a header tag. And in that H1 tag, you need to have the keywords in there. Why? Because it acts like a highlighter pen for the search engines. The words used in the header tags are classified as being just a little bit more important than everything else. And search engines are keen on relevant. Where they see the same words used in the meta title, the meta description, the URL, the header tags and the content, that puts ticks in the relevance box for the search engines. This is beginning to reinforce the message that this page is really about digital marketing for small business. H1 for the page title, then H2s for paragraph title. Don't just write a long screed of text because that's boring. If you break it up into sensible paragraphs and use paragraph titles, even if people are just scanning the text, their eyes will stop over on the header tags, on the paragraph titles, and that will give them an idea of what the paragraph is about and whether it might be of interest to them. And where you've got keywords in there, put them in bold, because that stops the scanning eye. It interrupts the scanning process and says, oh, I need to pay attention here. It also adds a little bit more emphasis to those keywords from a search engine perspective. And the other thing you can use are bullet points. They have the same effect of breaking up the scanning eye. Now, I mentioned about readability. It's critical that people have to be able to read what it is you've written. The average reading age in this country is 12 years old. You need to aim for that for so many reasons. One, it makes the content readable by as wide an audience as possible. I'm not talking about dumbing down. I'm just talking about quality writing. But not only that, it makes it readable by people with English as a second language. And don't forget, you need to understand who it is you're writing for. If you're an engineer and you're pitching some engineering solution, you're probably not pitching to other engineers. They might be recommenders, but you might be pitching to financial director. A financial director doesn't have to be an engineer to understand the finances behind a business. But if they're faced with 2 services or products, one that is jargon laden and one that is easy to read, which one are they going to pick? Your decision maker might be a company director, might be a company owner. They don't have to love the subject, the business they own or the market they're in. They have to be good at what they do. Owning a business, running a business, managing a business. So again, you need to write content that is easily understandable. Kick out the jargon if